It is a stormy evening for parts of central and especially southern Kentucky. We'll time the latest round of thunderstorms coming up.
Investigators are trying to find a driver who hit and killed a 10-year-old boy while they're struggling to find clues.
The governor announces a criminal justice reform initiative. They're his plans for the Commonwealth.
WKYT News starts now with First Alert Weather.
Good afternoon to you. Some of us were caught out in it. Many of us heard the rumble of thunder as storms rolled through this afternoon.
And some of those storms turned severe. Here's some video of trees that were knocked down on Royster Road here in Lexington. There are more storms on the way tonight and in the days to come. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has an update now on this WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Day. Chris?
Guys, that's not too far from the station here on Winchester Road. That was the same storm that put down a little over an inch of rain in about 30 minutes here at the station earlier. And that's the same storm that is into southeastern Kentucky. Now, it is southern Kentucky getting in on the majority of the showers and storms right now. Defender Radar Network has been awfully busy this afternoon. That severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Bell County has expired as of the top of the hour at 5 o'clock. That storm getting ready to cross over into far southwestern parts of Virginia. Let's go to the north and hit the Daniel Boone / Hal Rogers Parkway and points north from there, getting in on a tremendous amount of rain and lightning. These storms have so much moisture with them. Watch the creeks and streams, especially now into the hilly terrain of southeastern Kentucky, into parts of Perry County, back through Leslie County, through Clay County, Manchester. Look at Burning Springs. Ton of lightning. All of a sudden now, skies are getting dark here into London. Thunder and lightning as the thunderstorm drops in from the northern part of the county into southern parts of Jackson County. Got to watch the Anvil area. Boy, we've had heavy rain now for the better part of the past hour. Scattered thunderstorms across Pulaski County. One more little line on top of Richmond, Madison County, into parts of the Estill County area and right on top of the Mountain Parkway, Clay City, Stanton. That is trying to push its way quickly toward the southeast. But better news coming up for the evening. As this line settles to our south and southeast, it's being replaced by a better brand of air coming into town, at least in the short term. Look at that future radar, hour by hour. 7 o'clock this evening. Notice how the thunderstorms kind of begin to vanish into southeastern Kentucky. Though late tonight, early tomorrow morning, we're going to be watching the northwestern sky for thunderstorms just coming on the edge of the screen. Guys, anything that fires up there will head into central and eastern Kentucky into the day tomorrow. We'll talk about that when I come back in a few minutes.
A plea for help today from investigators trying to find a driver who hit and killed a young boy.
The 10-year-old died after the hit and run last night on Rocks Lick Creek Road near Science Hill in Pulaski County. As WKYT's Hillary Thornton reports, investigators have few clues to go on. It's our top story at 5.
Since this is a very rural area of Pulaski County, investigators say there's not a whole lot of traffic coming and going through here, which is why they are hopeful that maybe some neighbors saw something that was unusual. Investigators say the crash happened around 7:30 Monday evening as the 10-year-old boy and his brother were playing nearby as their grandfather did some work on his cornfield.
Probably playing in the creek and somehow came up on the roadway and was struck on the roadway.
According to deputies, the driver then taking off, leaving the little boy in the road where he was found unresponsive. All of this happening on the gravel portion of Rocklick Creek Road. Unfortunately, investigators at this point working without a vehicle description because they say no one actually saw the deadly crash happen. Neighbors in the area devastated by the tragedy, saying the 10-year-old victim was always out working hard helping their grandfather. The young boy has been identified, however, after speaking with the obviously heartbroken family, they're asking that we not use his name. Investigators did spend the day back out in the area talking to everyone who lives here or might have driven that roadway yesterday.
Our hearts go out to the family of this young man, and we're doing everything that we can to solve this crime.
Since at this point investigators do not have a description of the vehicle, they say that any piece of information, even if you feel it is small, can be very helpful in their investigation. In Pulaski County, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
The Pulaski County Sheriff's Office launched their Major Crimes Task Force, which brings in Somerset and Kentucky State Police to help with the investigation. The Franklin County coroner has identified a man killed in a crash there. It happened around 10:15 this morning at the intersection of US 60 and Lyons Drive. Police say a car pulling out of a shopping center collided with a semi. 90-year-old William Howard died. A woman in the car with him was injured. Part of US 60 remains closed this afternoon.
A year-long legal battle over marriage licenses might soon be over. Rowan County Clerk Kim Davis has filed to end her appeals over her refusal to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. WKYT's Monique Blair is at the live desk with more on the request. Monique?
Well, Sam, Kim Davis's attorney tells me Davis' appeal is no longer necessary because a new law accommodates her religious convictions. That bill, SB 216, removes the requirement for county clerks' names to be on marriage licenses in Kentucky. The bill passed unanimously by the legislature, and then it was signed by Governor Matt Bevin in April. It will go into effect on July 14th. Now, Davis spent 5 days in jail last fall after she defied a federal judge's order to issue marriage licenses. Davis's attorney, Matt Staver, told me today that Davis would never have had to go to jail if former Governor Steve Beshear would have accommodated her deeply held religious beliefs. At the live desk, Monique Blair, WKYT.
Kim Davis released a statement through her attorneys today saying in part that she was thankful for this new law and is pleased to continue to serve as the Rowan County Clerk without having to sacrifice her religious convictions and conscience.
The governor says Kentucky's prison system needs to change. Today, he took action to get those changes started. WKYT's Kristen Kennedy shows us how a new group of people will work to improve criminal justice in our state.
The council has 6 months to take a look at prisons across the state, how they're run, how they're handled, and ultimately how they can impact what the governor considers much needed change.
Thank you for being here. We're here to talk about criminal justice reforms.
Governor Matt Bevin introduced Tuesday the 23 members that make up the Criminal Justice Policy Assessment Council. Many are legislators, law enforcers, and attorneys coming from different backgrounds and parts of the state. John Tilley will serve as chairman of the new cabinet.
We are not doing what we should do to cut reoffense rates, to allow folks to recover, to knock down those barriers that exist when they leave the prison.
Governor Bevin expects the group to spend the summer and the fall pinpointing problem areas in the state's prisons and coming up with ways to eliminate those problems. He wants the council to take a close look at current laws and to decide if they need to be revised.
I'm a big believer that there should be consequences for decisions made. Penance should be paid. When people make these mistakes, they should be held to account. The law matters. That said, there are smarter and better ways we can go about the application of those laws.
The governor expects pieces of legislation from this council to come up for a vote in 2017. In Frankfort, Kristen Kennedy, WKYT.
Chairman Tilley says the council will most likely meet twice a month starting this fall.
An investigation into stolen electricity leads to a more disturbing discovery. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Madison County. Deputies say they found Chris Crouch and Vanessa Fansler stealing electricity from a neighbor because their home didn't have any. And they tell the Richmond Register they also found dishes covered in mold and bugs, a moldy refrigerator, and a dead animal in a freezer. They say that 3 bedrooms meant for children were also covered in filth and trash. And the pair is charged with endangering the welfare of a minor. In Scott County, a traffic stop led to a drug bust. Deputies say they found 532 pills and cash. The traffic stop took place on I-75 southbound near the 132-mile marker. The sheriff's office did not say if there were any arrests.
The U.S. Attorney General visits Orlando. I'm Weijia Jiang in Florida with what she's saying about the investigation into the mass shooting. Coming up.
Home ownership has hit a 50-year low, the reason many people aren't buying in better living.
Latest round of strong and severe thunderstorms rumbling into southeastern Kentucky. Up next, we'll track additional rounds for that Wednesday and Thursday time frame. Stay with us. WKYT First Alert Severe Weather Days. We're going to roll this into Wednesday and Thursday as well with additional rounds of thunderstorms. Skies beginning to clean up across central Kentucky. And you know what? That's a trend that's going to carry us for the rest of the evening across most areas. So for the evening ahead, weather continues to get better. In Lexington, on the other side of town, out at the airport, it's 89 degrees. They missed a lot of the rain. Here at the station, it's 79 right now, where we had a better than an inch and a quarter of rain today. Humidity's up there 46%, so it's a steamy air mass that is going on. Southern southeastern Kentucky, strong thunderstorms. Not really seeing a whole lot in terms of true severe weather right now, but we're going to watch it nonetheless. Look at all the lightning now firing up here into Laurel County. London getting noisy into sections of Bell County earlier. That one severe thunderstorm is now crossing into parts of Virginia. Look at the ton of lightning from the hazard area, and especially Hyden, Manchester, and over towards sections of London. Let's go in and show you that Daniel Boone / Hal Rogers Parkway and points to the south. Here's Hyden into good old Leslie County. A ton of heavy rain and a lot of noise. Look at downtown Manchester now into Clay County. Wow, look at all the lightning basically right on top of the city. So we'll watch that. London, this storm is now beginning to intensify from the East Bernstadt area, Greenmount, and into downtown London. Corbin, that's heading in your direction over the next little bit. And we'll watch this stuff around Somerset into Pulaski County, the Mount Victory area. East side of Pulaski County. No lightning with that just yet. Got a feeling we'll see some before it's all said and done. So Barberville into Corbin and Williamsburg. That thunderstorm into Laurel County has your area in sight for the next 30-45 minutes or so. Occasional lightning strikes now coming from this northern band of rain that is lining up from Wolfe County through northern parts of Lee County, through Estill County and across the Richmond area where we've had a lot of rain over the past few hours. But let me put everything into motion for you. We said today 64 and south would be the greatest concentration. Well, those storms did fire up right on top and just north of 64, but greatest concentration this afternoon has been across the southern parts of the area. Sunshine in the north taking over as we go through the evening. How do we look for the next few days? More rounds of storms are on the way. You can get some high winds, you can get some hail, and the local flash flood threat is going to be there as we go through tomorrow and into Thursday as well. What about the winds? I wanted to look at an hour-by-hour wind gust forecast. This doesn't necessarily take into consideration local thunderstorms. General winds tomorrow night into early Thursday can top 40 miles per hour or greater. That's with a cold front that is on top of the area. Now, the overall severe weather threat this evening is mainly confined to the southern parts of the area and shrinking. Tomorrow, I think the greatest threat for severe weather is north of Kentucky. We're still in the at least lower risk. Thursday, I think, is our day for the potential for some widespread severe weather into central and eastern Kentucky. One we'll keep a very close eye on. May hit 90 before the storms bubble up on Thursday, a drop on Friday. Low 90s coming up this weekend with more thunderstorms kicking back up from late Sunday into the early part of next week. Storms that are out there now, guys. Noisy southeastern Kentucky, but it's a better evening for many of us.
And the rest of the week still, you're going to have some more of this,
We're going
right?
to have more storms tomorrow and Thursday, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Got a problem on Man of War at Nicholasville Road. A concrete truck apparently lost some of its load there, so they have a big pile of concrete in the roadway. This is mainly going to affect inbound Nicholasville Road at Man of War in the left through lane. That's the biggest impact that we're dealing with there. Around the circle this afternoon, no major delays. The heaviest traffic on the inner and outer loops between Liberty and Winchester Road. Drive times holding their own. Now back to you in the studio.
After the U.S. Senate defeated 4 gun control proposals, lawmakers have unveiled a new plan. The details ahead.
It's been 3 years since a teenager disappeared. Her loved ones talk about the search for answers on WKYT News at 5:30. The U.S. Attorney General visiting Orlando today to spend time with survivors and family of the victims.
As Weijia Jiang shows us, Loretta Lynch vowed to find as many answers as possible, though it will be a challenge.
U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch visited a memorial in Orlando honoring the 49 people who died in the nightclub massacre. She met privately with people impacted by the shooting.
I am so inspired by the strength and the resilience of the survivors and their loved ones.
Lynch also met with investigators who are trying to find out why shooter Omar Mateen opened fire in a gay nightclub.
I cannot tell you definitively that we will ever narrow it down to one motivation. People often act out of more than one motivation. This was clearly an act of terror and an act of hate.
It took investigators over a week to process the scene and collect evidence here at Pulse nightclub. The city reopened the main street in front of the building on Tuesday morning.
It's very eerie. It's very shocking and scary.
That's how Nathaniel Reef describes seeing Pulse up close for the first time since the shooting. Reef wanted to watch crews remove the barricades around the club. He hopes this marks a new beginning.
I just came here to really try to find closure and try to understand the matter, but I'm still struggling with it right now.
Many people are stopping by to reflect, consoling each other.
I looked at it and it brought goosebumps.
Jean Frechette came to pay respects to the victims.
Probably say a prayer for these people that died.
And, she says, a prayer for her community. Weijia Zhang, CBS News, Orlando.
Florida Governor Rick Scott plans to appeal after federal officials denied his request for a state of emergency declaration following the shooting. One day after the U.S. Senate defeated 4 gun control proposals, a group of lawmakers have introduced a 5th plan. The compromise blocks anyone on the no-fly or TSA selectee list from purchasing a gun instantly. The previous proposals were defeated in part because of concern that people wrongly placed on the list would lose their Second Amendment rights. Under this latest plan, anyone denied a gun can go to an appeals court to make the government show why they cannot have one.
A strong storm claimed the life of an 11-year-old camper early this morning. A tree fell in the girls' cabin at a camp in Bennington, Indiana, located between Louisville and Cincinnati. Camp officials say first responders arrived quickly, but the girl didn't survive.
The family was notified immediately. Our thoughts and prayers are with them. At this time, we are not releasing the name of the camper out of respect for the family.
There were 3 adult counselors in the cabin at the time, along with other campers. None of them were hurt. The camp has brought in extra help for everyone dealing with the tragedy.
Fiat Chrysler plans to stop making new vehicles with a certain type of Takata airbag inflator. The company says its factories will stop using inflators that do not have a chemical drying agent. Tests show inflators with the drying agent are much safer. Fiat Chrysler will make the change in North America by next week and globally by mid-September. Police call it an unusual theft, how 2 men got away with hundreds of dollars from a car wash on WKYT News at 5:30.
When it comes to financial emergencies, many Americans aren't prepared. The findings of a new study in Better Living. It is time now for Better Living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. Fewer and fewer Americans are buying homes. The Associated Press found home ownership has hit a 50-year low. Luke Sheridan shows us why many people are choosing to rent instead.
San Antonio is one of several areas across the country where construction is underway to address the latest trend in housing, an expanding group of people who can only afford to rent.
We would love to be able to buy a house right now, but financially we really can't make those obligations.
An Associated Press analysis found that in the wake of the housing crash, homeownership is close to a 50-year low.
Usually 50% of new home purchases approximately are first-time buyers. The trend over the last number of years has been more like a third.
You excited? I'm gonna move in tomorrow.
Randall Poole relocated here when the Army transferred him to the nearby military base. And while he has owned a house in the past, an uncertain financial situation has now forced him to choose renting over buying. The AP analysis found that areas with healthy job markets have increased demand and pushed rental and buying costs higher.
We've definitely seen in the last decade a really high run-up in home values in the Washington, D.C. area. Property values from 2000 to 2010 doubled.
Historically low mortgage rates have helped strengthen the financial position of homeowners like Jim Phillips. He's been able to buy several condos and rents them at a profit.
Based on my income level, I need an opportunity to, lower my taxable income. So, right now, being a homeowner is really the best way to reduce my taxes.
The shift to renting has been especially visible in the Piedmont Park neighborhood of Apopka, Florida. More than a third of the homes here are rentals, up from 1 in 10 just a few years ago.
It's renter's market because, you know, nobody can afford the down payment. Nobody can afford all that money you need up front for a house.
The split could ultimately worsen economic inequality. Whatever wealth most Americans possess exists mainly as equity in their homes. But the growing renter class doesn't have that equity, which means fewer Americans can build financial security. Luke Sheridan, The Associated Press.
Many Americans do not have money saved up for emergencies. A recent study from Bankrate.com found 66 million Americans have no emergency savings. People ages 36 to 51 make up the largest part of that group. On the other end of the spectrum, about 28% of Americans have about 6 months worth of expenses in their emergency savings. Now, here's what's coming up for you at 5:30.